Hide the body in a place even the police can't find. How can a case like this be solved? It was a mysterious disappearance case that occurred in Dingbian, Shaanxi. At the same time, it is also one of the most mysterious disappearance cases in our country. A 24-year-old girl mysteriously disappeared from her home. Alive but nowhere to be found. Dead but no body found. There were only a few drops of blood in the bathroom. It leaves endless room for speculation. But just when the police, after much hardship, it took 6 years to finally identify the suspect. But it was discovered that this person was in prison operating a sewing machine at the time of the crime. There was absolutely no time to commit the crime. But all the evidence indicates this person is the murderer. What on earth is going on? Sit tight and hold on, Old Nyo is hitting the road. On December 17, 2005, in Dingbian County, Yulin, Shaanxi. That morning, a woman hurriedly rushed to the police station, claimed that her house had been robbed. Upon understanding, the woman's name was Wan Hong. I just returned from a business trip today. Although not much cash was lost. It was only worth 700 yuan, but it was a family heirloom bracelet left by her mother. But it mysteriously vanished. At first, the police thought this was just an ordinary burglary case. But once they entered Wan Hong's home, they immediately sensed that something was off. Firstly, the scene of a typical burglary is usually extremely messy. But this place was unusually tidy. Secondly, there were no signs of damage to the doors or windows. There were also no signs of climbing or forced entry. How did the thief break in? Could it be that a familiar person committed the crime? Seeing the puzzled investigators, Wan Hong stated, her distant niece, Xiao Li, had recently been staying at her house. But she has also mysteriously disappeared. Could the thief be her distant niece? With this doubt, the police went to Xiao Li's workplace. However, the supervisor said, Xiao Li was absent from work without asking for leave. She hasn't been to work for several days. Could it really be that Xiao Li stole her aunt's ancestral bracelet, and ran away out of guilt? Regarding this bold speculation, not only did Xiao Li's father state, didn't believe it, even her uncle found it unbelievable. She has been a class leader since elementary school. She even joined the party at school. She can be considered quite an upstanding girl. Excellent. Exceptionally excellent. In fact, the police in Dingbian also felt this bold assumption seems a bit too bold. Because the burglary scene, there are too many things that don't make sense. One point is that if Xiao Li really ran away out of guilt, why didn't she take her ID and handbag? Secondly, the police also found a bank book with a balance of 10 million yuan was found. As everyone knows, fleeing requires funding. Just imagine, who would run away without taking their own money? But strangely, if the thief wasn't Xiao Li, why did he mysteriously disappear? The investigation revealed that Xiao Li, 24 years old, had just graduated from a finance and trade college in Shaanxi. She had only been working in Dingbian for 6 months. She was introverted. She was not good at socializing. She had almost no friends at work. Her social connections could be considered quite simple. In Dingbian, she was relatively close only to her aunt. Xiao Li's call records showed that Wan Hong's mother, the reporter, was the last person to speak with her on the phone. No sound. It was as if a car horn was sounding. The sound of the horn was distant. Wan's mother thought there might be a problem with the phone signal. After hanging up, she called back. But at that moment, Xiao Li's phone could no longer be reached. In Xiao Fu's eyes, it was highly likely that his daughter had been kidnapped. But besides himself, who else knew about his daughter's 10 million? Who else knew about this? Even though Xiao Fu posted many missing person notices afterward, also searched through the nearby county towns. But the result was disappointing. Meanwhile, the police were also actively searching for useful clues. However, residents of the Wan Hong community expressed that, because Xiao Li had only been staying for a short time, and she usually doesn't go out much, so everyone doesn't have much impression of her. The investigator thought that searching aimlessly like this isn't a good solution either. To obtain more useful clues, the police once again contacted Wan Hong. The situations she reported, but it gave the police a chilling shock. Cold sweat, Wan Hong said. There were originally 2 suitcases on top of her bedroom closet, but that extra-large suitcase has now vanished without a trace. Strangely, In the place where the suitcase was supposed to be, there is instead a kitchen knife she had just bought not long ago. Even stranger, the newly bought kitchen knife has inexplicably curled up at the blade. It seems that this case is not as simple as everyone imagines. Therefore, the police decided to conduct another investigation at the scene, to be on the safe side. This time, the police deliberately brought along some equipment. With the support of the equipment, the investigators quickly made new discoveries. That is, in the gap between the floor tiles at the bottom of the toilet and behind the bathroom door, they found some subtle and hard-to-detect bloodstains. The appearance of these bloodstains inevitably caused a tightening feeling in one's heart. After comparison, it was found that these bloodstains all belonged to Xiao Li. Thus, the police made a bold speculation. Xiao Li may not have been kidnapped, but rather encountered some kind of mishap at home. The case is serious. A special investigation team was immediately established. Considering that there were no signs of forced entry at the crime scene, the likelihood of an acquaintance being the culprit is extremely high. However, the clues currently available are indeed limited. The investigators had no choice but to conduct a third examination of the crime scene. And this time, the police had even more significant findings. That is, a high stool from Wan Hong's home. It strangely appeared at the entrance of the apartment building. The crime scene is a gated community. The courtyard wall is more than 2 meters high, and every day at 11 p.m., the security guard will close the main gate. So, what about this strange high stool that appeared at the apartment building? What unknown secrets does it hide? At that moment, Wan Hong suddenly arrived at the police station. She reported an important situation to the police. That is, the day before her business trip, an unexpected guest had come to her home. Someone knocked on the door, and as she opened it, it seemed to be her online friend's neighbor from Yinchuan. "Tell me what you're here for." He said he was in Dingbian to meet an online friend. As a result, he lost his money and was broke now. He came to borrow 20 yuan from her. It seemed to be what her friend's neighbor had mentioned. The man who borrowed money from her was called Xiao Dongbei. Although they had only met once, thinking that 20 yuan wasn't much, she readily lent it to him. What she didn't expect was that the little northeasterner didn't leave after getting the money. Instead, he pulled her into the bedroom to chat. Xiao Li might have felt that this unfamiliar man had been in her aunt's bedroom for too long. It felt somewhat inappropriate, so she found an excuse to pull her aunt out. The little northeasterner said nothing in response, and soon took his leave. This person appeared at the scene at this peculiar time. At the crime scene. This caught the police's attention. But just when the investigators were about to question him, they discovered that the little northeasterner had mysteriously vanished. He seems to be off work. Didn't do anything. Seems like not. No one knew where he was from. All we knew was that he was called Dongbei. His accent had a northeastern flavor. Northeasterner. All we knew was that he was called Dongbei. Don't even know the name. Name, age, and occupation were all a mystery. It seems this person is a person of unknown name, age, and occupation. Under such circumstances, even with the police conducting a wide-ranging investigation, the little northeasterner disappeared without a trace, like a cow sinking into the sea. Disappeared without a trace. Although everyone found this person suspicious, they just couldn't find any clues about him. The investigation has reached this point. The most promising lead has stalled at this stage. At this point, it has been a year since Xiao Li went missing. Although there is currently no news about their daughter, Xiao Fu still firmly believes that his daughter is definitely alive. She's just temporarily unable to contact her family. After multiple searches yielded no results, the Qiao family placed all their hopes on the Dingbian police. Such a grown-up girl. Our pressure is quite significant. Moreover, the windows were intact and closed. Thus, the task force increased the police force. They visited and checked all of Xiao Li's friends and family. But there were no discoveries. The case has reached this step. Only Xiao Dongbei remains as a suspect. This person not only appeared at a very special time, but the timing of the disappearance is also coincidental. The most important thing is that he still owes Wan Hong 20 yuan and hasn't paid it back yet. At this moment, the case has now entered its third year of investigation. Hard work pays off for those who are diligent. With the police's relentless efforts, they finally learned that Xiao Dongbei, before his disappearance, had dated a girl named Ping Ping. The frustrating thing is that this Ping Ping, like Xiao Dongbei, is also a person of unknown name, age, and occupation. In order to find her, the police spent another 6 months facing inquiries. Ping Ping kept insisting that she has poor memory. Eventually, under the police's patient persuasion, she finally managed to regain her memory. Xiao Dongbei's name is Quan Wei. He is from Luoyang, Hunan. Ping Ping stated that this was the most vivid breakup she remembers. It was on December 16, 2005. After Quan Wei returned to their rental apartment, he started packing his bags. He didn't say a word the whole time. He just hugged himself once before leaving. Since then, she has never seen Quan Wei again. December 16th, isn't that the third day since Xiaoli went missing? It is clear that Quan Wei is a major suspect in the crime. But just when the police thought they were close to solving the case, what happened next was simply unimaginable. With the help of the police in Hunan, the Dingbian police quickly found Quan Wei. However, at that moment, the Dingbian police couldn't feel happy at all, because Quan Wei had been imprisoned for rape, and was incarcerated on August 2, 2005. He had been in prison since August 2, 2005. Meanwhile, Xiaoli went missing on December 13. Doesn't this indirectly indicate that he had no time to commit the crime? Filled with confusion, the police contacted the prison guards. Not only did he not go out at all in 2005, but even for your current investigation here at, which is in 2008, he had also not gone out during this period. He had neither received medical parole nor been granted early release. How could he go out? The more we investigate, the more confused we become. The more we interview, the less we understand. It seems Quan Wei is not the suspect after all. But at this moment, a keen police officer noticed something was off. If Quan Wei was in prison the whole of 2005, then who was the one that borrowed money from Wan Hong? And who was the person Ping Ping saw on December 16? In order to uncover the truth, the Dingbian police even made a special trip to the prison to take a photo of Quan Wei. But strangely, when the police showed Quan Wei's photo for identification to Wan Hong and Ping Ping, both of them unanimously stated that this person is Xiao Dongbei. The police were quite frustrated at this point. They couldn't understand at all how someone who had been serving time in prison could have committed this crime. To get to the bottom of the truth, the police drove to Quan Wei's hometown and conducted a detailed investigation into his social connections. You don't know until you investigate. Once you investigate, you find out everything. Quan Wei is indeed from Luoyang, Hunan. However, since his ancestral home is in Suifen City, Heilongjiang, therefore, his accent has always been northeastern. So he is also called Little Northeasterner. His neighbors reported, Quan Wei is not an only child. He has a twin brother, Quan Chao. The two look very alike, except for their parents. No one can tell them apart. Even their longtime neighbors of several decades often get confused. The two not only look the same, even their temperaments are identical. Both do nothing good, but carry out bad deeds to the extreme. Their misdeeds are simply too numerous to list. The police, upon receiving this news, had a sudden realization. A bold hypothesis then emerged. That is, the man serving time in prison is not the brother, Quan Wei, but the younger brother, Quan Chao. If this hypothesis holds true, then all the unbelievable things would make sense. So how can they confirm their guess? At this time, a concerned neighbor reported, Quan Chao once had a conflict with his father over playing online games. In a fit of anger, he chopped off 2 of his own fingers. If the man in prison has missing fingers, wouldn't that reveal the truth? The Dingbian police immediately made a call to the prison. The response they received thrilled the investigation team. That is, the man laboring in the prison. His fingers indeed have defects. Who would have thought? These 2 notorious twins actually pulled a switcheroo. So why did Quan Chao impersonate Quan Wei? It turns out that before this imprisonment, he had served time for breaking and entering. Because our country's criminal law states that those who commit crimes within 5 years of release are considered habitual offenders. They should be punished more severely. And Quan Chao must have assumed his brother's identity out of fear of receiving a heavier punishment. His brother's name. It seems that some realities are indeed more exciting than movies. They thought Quan Wei would also put on a show next. So, the question arises. Where exactly is Quan Wei at this moment? Given that his hometown is in Suifen, Heilongjiang. The police promptly went to northeast China to understand the situation. With the experience from last time, Dingbian police this time not only investigated Quan Wei, but also did not let Quan Chao off the hook. Ironically, Quan Wei was not found, but Quan Chao was located. No wonder they say birds of a feather flock together. If one were to say these two brothers are not biologically related, the old cow would be the first to disagree. My friends, do you know what happened? At this moment, Quan Wei is in Daqing, posing as his brother. He is in prison, as Quan Wei was sentenced to 10 years for theft. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison by the Daqing Intermediate Court. As for why he used his brother's name, the reason is quite absurd. Because the brother has already been imprisoned using his name, he had no choice but to resort to this method. However, when the police went through great lengths, and finally identified the suspect after 5 years, they found themselves in trouble again, because everything they had so far was only indirect evidence. There was no concrete proof at all. Alive, no person to be seen. Dead, no body to be found. Right now, there was neither a corpse, nor any eyewitnesses. Even at the crime scene, the police found no fingerprints or hairs related to him. In order to substantiate his crime, the police had to find more direct evidence. By this time, 5 years had passed since the incident. Wan Hong's house had long been refurbished and sold. So, how could they find solid evidence? After much thought, the police placed their hope on the vegetable knife with a rolled blade left at the scene. Although the knife was left at the scene by the suspect, it had also been carefully cleaned by the suspect. What should they do about this? Holding on to their last glimmer of hope, the police invited forensic expert Gao Jinli from Yulin City. It was precisely this decision that brought a new turning point to the case. After a detailed analysis of the case, Gao and his team began conducting experiments. The results of the experiments showed that the bloodstains found behind the door were very likely transferred there when the mop was used to clean the blood put up there. So what kind of criminal case could result in so many bloodstains? And after the suspect left, why did he take that extra large suitcase? Yes, you guessed it right. It was a murder and dismemberment case. And that curled-edged kitchen knife is likely the dismemberment tool. This chipped blade is exactly. This should have formed on the bones. The possibility is quite high, because he was at the scene. Besides this cement and tiles, it wouldn't have been twisted into such a curved shape. Under Gao's meticulous investigation, the crime scene was gradually restored to its true state. However, these are still speculations based on the existing material evidence, and do not constitute substantial proof. Therefore, the police had to find a breakthrough. Again placed on that kitchen knife. The special investigation team believes, although the knife had been meticulously cleaned by the suspect, with the continuous advancements in forensic technology, perhaps with the current high-tech methods, new clues could be found. Therefore, on September 12, 2011, the Dingbian police sent the knife to the provincial department for testing. The result was indeed found on the handle of the knife. Human cellular tissue was detected. Later, after DNA comparison, it was confirmed that this cellular tissue belonged to Quan Wei. The DNA data completely matched that of Quan Wei. This is the evidence. This is the most reliable evidence. The special investigation team's application was quickly approved, with the emergence of solid evidence. The police also gained confidence to interrogate Quan Wei. However, faced with the overnight interrogation by the police, this notorious habitual criminal showed various tricks. He neither admitted to being Quan Wei, nor did he even acknowledge his own parents. What's the name? Quan Chao. Talk about your basic situation. Who are your parents, and where did they go to school? Explain the situation clearly. I have no idea who their parents are. Just as he was still struggling with his failed attempts at deception, at the moment he was feeling quite pleased with himself. The appearance of the methods to jog someone's memory caught him off guard. 2 hours later, he finally regained all his memories, and readily admitted to his criminal actions. So, the question arises, why did he want to kill this person? Xiao Li, whom he didn't know at all. Quan Wei said that on December 13, 2005, He learned from Wan Hong's online friend. After finding out her address, he went to borrow 20 yuan. He originally planned to get closer to Wan Hong in her bedroom, to borrow some more money. But unexpectedly, he was interrupted by Qiao Li. With no other choice, he had to leave empty-handed. But 20 yuan was just not enough for him. But when he went back the next day to borrow money again. However, it turned out that Wan Hong was on a business trip. Only Qiao Li was left at home. What did you two talk about? I can't remember exactly what was said. Anyway, that's roughly the meaning. She said I was cheating Wan Hong out of money. And then? What did you do? At that moment, I strangled her to death. Then, I dismembered Qiao Li in the bathroom. After cleaning the scene, it was already 3 a.m. After putting Qiao Li into a suitcase, she prepared to climb over the wall. Therefore, she also took a stool from Wan Hong's house down. But this courtyard wall was not only high, but also had shards of glass on top. Additionally, the body was too heavy. He had no choice but to give up. He forced himself to act calm and called the security lady to open the door. After arriving in Yinchuan, he threw the body into a well in the suburbs. Uai Village, Yinchuan City. After transporting the body to Uai, he remembered there was a well there. He put the upper half of the body into the well, and the place where Quan Wei disposed of the body back then. It has now become a coal mining site. The well from back then has also disappeared without a trace. With the efforts of the police on many fronts, they ultimately excavated the well, and unexpectedly retrieved Qiao Li's body. Heartbreakingly, the hairpin the girl wore in her hair back then is still there. But the person has already changed beyond recognition. For 6 years, Qiao Li's parents have actually known in their hearts their daughter was very likely murdered. However, they have never wanted to think the worst. They would rather believe that their daughter was abducted than accept such a cruel reality. Now, when Qiao Li's mother sees these little girls, she asks if it is her daughter. She was with Wan Hong at the time. As the interrogation deepened, Quan Wei's more heinous acts gradually came to light. This person, before murdering Qiao Li, was also suspected of multiple robbery and murder cases. Truly, it can be said that whom the gods would destroy, they first make mad. Whom the gods would destroy, they first make mad. Finally, I would like to weekly ask a question. If Quan Wei had committed the crime back then, and had thrown the kitchen knife along with the body into the well, then, how exactly will this case be solved?